one note. So we get now a single note.
Yep.
You don't have to pay royalties on a note. Oh, welcome everyone to Rewatchers Council. Thanks for joining us. I'm sorry. Delia's here with me. Delia, how are you?
I'm all right.
Yes.
Uh, this is a difficult episode for me, so I
We-
didn't watch it.
we're gonna get into that in just a minute. So, we are going to be talking about Earshot. Earshot, the original, I guess you could say the original air date is September 28th of '99. Jane Espenson wrote it. The last one she did before this was Gingerbread. And it was directed by Ross Kimball. Poor guy. He's the longtime editor of the show. Uh, he got to direct one episode of Buffy, and then they have to play it out of sequence. Yes, he
Yeah.
did. He did direct one episode of Angel though too, but as far as I know, I think that's the only directing he's ever done. Number one movie at that time, one of your favorites, I know for a fact. Double Jeopardy. Double Jeopardy featuring Ashley Judd.
I have actually seen that movie.
I've seen it. I remember it. But I can't remember much of what goes on in it. The number one song in the United States of Your America, Unpretty by TLC. Good one.
Remember that one? That's a good
Yeah.
one.
It was number one for 3 weeks. Number one song in the UK. I don't know if you can throw around the word classic enough. I certainly wouldn't throw it at this time, but you'll always remember it. Blue Dabba D
Oh
by
yeah.
Eiffel 65. Now that song is going to be in your head, but only for a minute, because the number one song in Canada that week, and a huge song, I believe in the US as well, but I know it was number one in Canada for probably too long. Mambo number 5, Adelia by Lou Bega.
I remember that one too. That was a big one.
A little bit of Monica. You know what I mean. I don't have to get into it. You know what I'm
Yeah.
talking about. Now, the DVD summary says after slaying a telepathic demon, Buffy is bombarded with the thoughts of everyone around her, including one student who appears to be planning mass murder.
Yeah.
So, this episode, Adelia, was pushed back. This aired the week before the season 4 debut.
Mhm.
Uh, it was originally supposed to air the week of April 27th, 1999.
Yeah.
And for those who may not know, for those that maybe were born a little later than us, of course, that week of April 20th was uh, an infamous week. I would say not just America but worldwide. That's when
Yeah.
a couple young folks, uh, I guess, maybe troubled, I think isn't even a strong enough word for them,
Yeah.
walk into their high school in Columbine, Colorado. They kill 12 of their fellow students and a teacher before themselves. The plan was much bigger than this. There were supposed to be bombs. They were supposed to be from outside. Horrible stuff. Absolutely
Yeah.
horrible.
Yeah.
You, I think, more than anyone that I've certainly ever heard of, can relate to what's going on with this. You were only, was it 20 minutes away at
Yeah,
high
I grew up
school when
I
this
grew
was
up
going on?
about 20 minutes from Columbine. Um I was not at school that day. I was sick and at home, so I watched the news coverage because it broke into what I was watching. And then I sat there in horror and shock, and it really, really affected me. My sister was at our high school. She didn't get to come home until around about 7 o'clock that night because they locked everything down
Yeah.
because they didn't know like what was going on and if it was an isolated incident. Um, I didn't sleep for about 3 days after it happened. Like, it really, really affected me. So this is an episode when I heard what this episode was about. I'm glad they postponed it for one thing. Like,
Yeah.
that was the absolute right decision for the network to make.
If anybody ever thought, oh, well, I don't know, I don't see why they suspended airing it. I think you just heard why. Like, And it wasn't just because you were so close; it affected people all throughout the
Yeah,
country.
it affected
Obviously,
people all throughout the country, but, like, being there in the Denver area, because this is where it
yeah,
was. Columbine is in Littleton, Colorado. It's a suburb of Denver. Um, it, uh it really affected, like, everybody in that area, like, so much so that when I was in Colorado, around the time of the 20-year anniversary, there was someone who came to Colorado who'd been obsessed with Columbine and things like that, and they found out that that person had purchased a gun when they got to Colorado. They shut all the schools down. Like they were not fucking
that's
around with this.
smart.
So that this is something that scarred the psyches of a lot of people in that area, especially like teenagers like me. I was let's see, 17 years old, about to turn 17 years old when this happened. So
You were their age. Like these were your
yeah,
peers.
these were my peers. Like I had friends at school who knew a couple of the victims. Like this is not something that um it it was far enough away that it wasn't directly affecting me, but it was also directly affecting me because it was that close. You know what I mean?
I'd say 20 minutes
Yeah.
is it's almost the same neighborhood for goodness sakes. When I think 20 minutes, I guess it's a little different in America. You have much bigger towns closer by and stuff like that. But I could still drive 20 minutes in Winnipeg and still be in Winnipeg. Uh, and it's not a very big place at all. Yeah, it's terrible, and it's you know, it, America's learned like nothing from this,
No, America's
unfortunately.
learned absolutely nothing from this, unfortunately.
It's been 26 years. You still hear about it. You still get thoughts and prayers from politicians. Gun violence is now the number one killer of teens and young children by in the United States of America. It's bananas. That this still has to go on is crazy. But this may be the more one of the more famous. Uh, well, probably the most famous. Let's not say one of the more, probably the most famous incident of school gun violence. It's not the first.
No.
They'll even talk about it in Buffy, but it's by far not the first time this has ever happened. So it's an ingrained thing and something that has to get stopped. And it's people can talk till they're blue in the face, but there's got to be people in charge that want to actually do something about it.
Mhm.
But people, pay good money to get kids killed. So there you go.
Yeah.
We'll talk about the actual show now, though. I know. I'll
Yeah.
how about I'll talk about the show now.
Snark will talk about the show. I have never watched this episode.
Yeah.
It was too raw in 1999 and it's sort of still that way for me. It's just I can't watch it. So,
Yeah, I wish there's like a way that we could just put together like the best bits of this episode because on the whole, this is a very good episode of Buffy, especially when you consider like, it's a bottle episode.
yeah.
Yeah, there's a little bit to it in the beginning, like okay, in the beginning, Buffy is fighting a couple of demons, no mouths and stuff like that. She stabs one with a pretty big knife that she has for some reason. Gets a little bit of blood on her, and eventually it starts affecting her. She goes to the library and stuff like that. They're trying to find out more about the Ascension. They're saying that Giles has looked up the ritual slaying of the demon Azarath was brought up, but it turns out that's not going to be it at all. And Buffy, of course, is a little bit. She's not as whiny in this episode, which is nice.
Mhm.
But she goes on about that whole thing with Angel and Faith was done for nothing, and Giles has to assure, yeah, well, it proved that she was a jerk. It proved she was a jerk at least. Delia. So Wesley comes up. He's bragging that he was on the phone about council business. It turns out, and they ask him, okay, what have you learned or whatever? He's like, well, he's got the full support of the council on his back. He learned that there's no chances about the demon Azarath, and everybody just kind of walks out on him, which is fun. Now, Will and Buffy have a quick talk about Angel here. They're not, how they're still kind of on that, on a break, I guess you could say. Maybe they're on a break. We got a couple of people come up. We got Percy, the guy that Willow's been uh, tutoring. as you
Okay.
said, when she was her doppelganger threw him over the pool table. I think you'll remember. And a
Mhm.
new guy named Hogan. Hogan's like another big basketball guy, and Xander at first, of course, is like the who cares about these guys until Hogan actually knew Xander's name, and he was giddy like a schoolgirl, which is which is quite fun. Everybody turns out is gonna go to Percy's big game here. He promised that Willie'd have all the reading done and stuff like that. He's still checking in and stuff like that. So we get 2 years of Willow basically being a teacher at the school, no pay at all. But yeah, everyone's gonna go to the basketball game. Except Buffy, so we get a little bit more mopey Buffy because she has to go on patrol because she has that, destiny and all.
Mhm.
But she goes back to Giles because that spot's still bugging her. So they look up some things. She, of course, automatically finds this demon. Probably the first book he looks at.
Of
Uh,
course.
yeah, it turns out she can have something called the aspect of the demon. When some blood gets on some people, it can infect the host. He doesn't know what the aspect of that demon is going to be or whatever, but he tells her not to track the other demon for now, just in case, because she gets a little worried about what exactly the parts she might be getting from this uh,
Mhm.
from this demon. Not a handsome fellow, I can tell you that too. By the way, Adelia, we get Cordy and the cheerleaders going at it or whatever. I guess it's a pep rally. Is that it?
Mhm.
That's what the thing is, right? So their cheers are essentially them just spelling out the names of the players and say "Go player." Like T.
That's a pretty typical cheer from cheerleaders in the
Oh,
90s. Them
is it?
Yeah.
This one was like Tom. Go, give me a T. Give me an O. Give me an M.
Yeah, they'll do that for
What's that
sure.
spell? Tom. Go Tom. I thought that was I put down as one of the lamest cheers I've ever heard, and to hear that was just a regular thing.
Oh, no, that definitely happened at, like, my high school football games and basketball games and stuff.
Oh boy. Willow's reading the paper. There's an editorial by a guy named Freddie. He's talking about how cheerleaders are like pseudo prostitutes dealing, which is, I don't understand that. This guy was
Yeah.
one of those '90s types. You know,
Yeah.
you see this guy, you're like, oh yeah, he's a '90s type guy. Anyways, she thinks the paper's starting to get depressing. Buffy's still checking herself out for horns. She's getting pretty upset here. Scales, Delia.
Mhm.
Will starts doing her best to ease her mind and says, Giles has a lot of things in the air. Maybe he's just not doing his best work. It could be anything. It could just be, maybe it's a rash. Buffy's worried about claws now. And then, in a panic, Willow wonders if that demon was a boy, Delia, which is nice.
Okay.
Well, if she's growing things, maybe if that's the boy demon. Now, Xander's just into the cheerleaders. Oz is pretty impressed that all their spelling improved and stuff like that. So Xander all of a sudden is getting a little jealous over Cordelia again because he sees Wesley eyeing Cordy doing some things or whatever. He says he's got his eyes on his Cordy here,
Oh,
Delia.
Xander.
I think he forfeited uh,
I think he did
the,
too.
the right to say that. And then he's also going on about how he thinks that Cordy's just as attractive as any of these other cheerleaders, whatever. Buffy's worried about how this aspect is going to change her physically and mentally. And, Willow says, no, 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 you'll be fine. So Buffy goes on patrol. There's Angel. He wants to make sure she's okay by tracking her stealthily. That's not creepy at all.
No,
She,
not at
she,
all.
yeah, she fills him in on the demon. He's heard about this whole aspect thing before. I guess everybody's heard about the aspect of the demon before. Buffy wants that she can't go to the game or whatever. Angel's does that. Oh, I'm never gonna let anything happen to you. You're always gonna be together and stuff like that. And well, well, let's just leave that for an episode or two. So the gang turns out had a real good time at the game. Willow's thinks Hogan's name should be the Jumper because she's so good at jumping and putting the ball into the hoop.
That sounds about how Willow would describe basketball.
yeah, she was very excited about naming him the Jumper. Yeah, I think it was Xander who wasn't so keen on him being named after an article of women's clothing. So Buffy tries to. I think just Jumper is just the name that the British used for sweatshirts, right?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what it is. Anyways, yeah, Buffy comes in. They try and play cool about how it's just the games, whatever. But of course, Cordy was kind of hearing it and said, "Are you guys nuts? That was one of the best games that she's ever seen. She's never cheered so hard in her life." Adelia, and they
Mhm.
won a they almost won state in swimming, if I remember right. Anyways, Buffy had some excitement too. She saw a four-legged demon, but it was just somebody's dog. Not even a were dog, just a regular old dog.
Just a dog.
Yeah. She hears Xander though think that he's wondering if Cordy and Wesley have ever kissed. And he's just thinking it, but she hears this. She says, it bothers you if they ever did that, right?" And she's,
Yeah, Brennan, this episode.
yeah. He tells her that, "Oh, you read my mind." And then something starts to dawn on old Buffy. Maybe she's found out. She walks down a hallway. She's hearing a teacher, Mr. Beach, talk about how if they could only just get rid of all the students, how nice school would be. You know what I mean? Then
Yeah.
he hears a guy talking about how pretty he thinks Buffy is. So she stops and she's kind of giving him the old thing like this until he starts saying things about how he'd like to press her up against a locker and blah, blah, she hightails it
Ugh.
out of there from that. There'll be a lot of that in this
Yeah.
episode. Don't you worry. Yeah, you hear just kids being hard on themselves. And when she tells Giles this now, she's pretty excited that she can actually hear thoughts. He doubts it's actual telepathy till he tells him, "Yeah, when I came in, you thought that you looked at my shoes and you thought that like kids these days would wear cats if a magazine told them it was cool, stuff like that." So he's like, "Okay, whatever." Turns out also that she saw Principal Snyder, and he had "Walk Like an Egyptian" in his head. Now, I'm not saying that I didn't have "Walk an Egyptian" in my head as soon as she said that. But I will say is, as soon as this episode was over, I watched the video for "Walk Like an Egyptian." So there you go. Giles thinks she could take it to her advantage now. She can anticipate her enemy's moves and stuff like that. But she's got a better idea for this, and that
Mhm.
idea is basically cheating in English class because they have an Othello class, and all of a sudden she knows all the right answers and stuff like that, and the correct how she's participating. She can think of ways that Iago is doing stuff. There's this classmate named Nancy that she keeps stealing all this stuff from. Nancy's played by Lauren Roman. Lauren Roman, someone I thought, oh, this girl I've seen everywhere and must be in a bunch of things. Nope. She was in All My Children and Nashville. And she was in, I thought maybe that her and Sarah Michelle Gellar kind of crossed paths at All My Children, but it looks like Sarah Michelle Gellar quit, and uh, then Lauren Roman came in. So no, and then we hear Xander talking about how he thinks Ms. Miller's hot, and all he thinks about, of course, all the time is sex. So it starts to drive Buffy a little bit nuts here. Just a quick thing about Miss Bryant. She's Miss Murray. She's played by Molly Bryant, and she's been in a bunch of things. And I think like she was pals with like Jack Black because she's done a lot of stuff with like Tenacious D. She was in Dead Man Walking and New Girl. A bunch The Office. She was in an episode of. Now he hears Buffy saying that how Nancy hates her now. Xander, of course, thinking about her, Miss Murray, and we hear that Freddy guy, the editorial guy, talking deeply about bread crusts. One of those guys. One of those guys who sees more than there actually is. He's a Canadian actor, so I don't want to give him too much crap here. His name is Karen Malecki Sanchez. Now, he's been in a bunch of stuff, and he has one of those 90s faces. You're like, yep, I know this guy from other stuff. And then I read the things, and I'm like, I don't know, Punisher Warzone. he was in. He was in True Blood. I think maybe I've seen him from that. The Mentalist and CSI. If Fair was here, maybe you'd recognize him from one of those shows. But the big deal for me was he was on the Edison Twins. And if you don't know what the Edison Twins are, you're nowhere near as old as I am. So back to the class here. Everyone's amazed at how astute Buffy is being. Ms. Murray goes on about how we all have Othello inside of us now. This leads Buffy to try to use this on Angel. She's like, oh, I can get into what he really thinks about Faith. So she tries pressing him on Faith. He's just sitting there. She's asked more questions. He'd sit there. And eventually says, you can't read my mind, Buffy. You can't get into my mind. It's just like the mirror. It's like the thoughts are there, but they create no reflection in me, whatever that means. So he reminds her again that kissing Faith meant nothing to him. He's been with dozens of girls like Faith in his 240 years, which doesn't make Buffy feel good, by
No.
the way. But he's only loved one, Adelia.
Sure.
Turns out it was Buffy.
Mhm.
Luckily, it turns out it was Buffy. And then he warns her to be careful with these powers because they can get to be painful. Well, let's see how that works out. Buffy lets the Scoobies in on exactly what's happening to her when they're in the library. Xander, of course, is absolutely mortified. Uh, he's always thinking about sex, anyways, and he tries not to think of sex. He thinks, he thinks of women, naked Buffy, and then he just hightails it out of there. Cordy, Cordy's the best because everything that Cordy thinks, she just says right away anyway.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's why another reason why she's so great. There was an SNL skit in the early '90s with Joe Montana, of all people, and his roommate had a date over and stuff like that, and it was all about the two people on the couch or whatever saying one thing but meaning another in their heads, and then Joe Montana would show up and he would just say whatever he's thinking. The last thing he says in the thing is, "Oh, don't worry about me. I'll just go upstairs and masturbate." And then in his head it says, "Don't worry about me. I'll be upstairs masturbating." It's something, Adelia, I've never forgotten. That's been 35 years or something like that. Joe Montana. Okay. Oz starts pondering, he's getting into Nietzsche and stuff like that, where if he thinks, therefore he is. If Buffy is in there thinking with him, does he cease to exist as a whole? And a lot of different stuff that I am just too dumb to follow after a while.
Yeah.
Wesley starts going on about mental discipline and then starts fawning over Cordy again. He leaves. Willow's now worried about how much Buffy can actually read of Oz's mind. So this starts to worry her, so she leaves. Oz follows her. Wesley comes out of the office and asks if he can still hear her or hear him thinking in there and stuff like that, so he leaves. Now, Buffy then just goes in the hall, and everybody's complaining now about themselves. Uh, Giles and Wesley look up while they have a brief second here, they look up another occurrence which has happened. And it turns out this person has to live in complete and utter isolation because the sound of voices drive them mad, Adelia.
I can understand that.
Yeah, we get to see Jonathan in the lunch line. He doesn't even think he exists to Buffy. And then the voices are starting to affect her now. She's hearing everybody. Of course, the room is spinning. She's bumping into people. It's a very dramatic 1950s style, madness thing that she has. Eventually, she's going to collapse on the floor. She wakes up outside. The Scoobies are waking her up. Xander blames the lunch lady.
Mhm.
The rest of the guys or whatever, Buffy can't remember. She remembers hearing a voice just before she passes out that says, "By this time tomorrow, uh, I will kill you all." And she can't remember if that voice was male, was female, or if it was even human, just because it had so much anger in it. So there's a thing where they're talking about it. Xander says a line where it's if no one ever thinks about taking a semi-automatic to school and stuff like that. So that line, of course, did not age well.
No.
Everyone's thoughts are starting to get to Buffy. She just needs more quiet. Giles gets her to go home. The gang decide well, they're going to go interrogate everybody that was in the cafeteria. They've done this kind of thing before.
Mhm.
Adelia will go fish, and just like go fish, Willow starts with Jonathan. Adelia, she's trying to get him to talk about how loneliness and stuff, and she wants him to pay attention. He isn't understanding what's going on. Uh, we get to see Oz talk to Hogan. He thinks it's just a test because he's a jock. Uh, Cordy just goes up to Mr. Beach and asks if he has plans on killing a bunch of people tomorrow.
God, Cordy.
It's for the school paper. So I guess Willow hands out a bunch of test sheets and stuff like that, and she wants everybody to follow the sample questions and stuff like that. And it says it's just for the school paper. Oz is looking for Freddy. He goes into the I guess he's the editor of the paper. He looks around, doesn't see him. Freddy's hiding under the desk, which is kind of a little suspect. A little suspect. He has like front pages up there with like apathy on the rise. No one cares. Get it? He thinks he's very smart. Anyways, they never find Freddy there. Buffy's at home. She's still having a hard time with the voices. We get to see the two Watchers trying to find a way to reverse what's happening to her. They're going to need that second demon, though. And they don't have Buffy to help go get it. Uh, you know, which makes Giles a little upset. And Wesley says, well, being negative isn't going to help about it. Giles then refers to him as soon as he's turned away as a Burke. Now, funny thing about the word Burke, it has
Mhm.
become a very tame thing to say, make like a twit, right? Unfortunately, the name Burke is actually comes from what's that Cockney slang that they use. Yeah, the name Berkeley Hunt is the Cockney slang, and that's all I'm going to say about that. If you want to figure out what the Cockney slang is for Berkeley Hunt, I suggest you can go do that yourself. I'm not going to do it on a family program. I can tell you that, Adelia.
Yeah.
Anyway, Angel though has already stepped up to the task. He's going to go get that. He's going to go get that damn heart. So we get to see Willow try to interrogate Nancy. Xander is back to talking with Larry. It's nice to see Larry again. He's asking, does he have any resentments? And Larry's like, no, 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 I'm out. Like, I am out, buddy. Like, my grandma's trying to fix me up with guys and stuff like that. And then he goes sincerely to Xander. He's like, are you having trouble with it? Like, of course, Xander starts to recoil a little bit from that. And, he wants to help though. Larry's a good guy.
Mhm.
Freddy is still hiding from Oz. It's kind of this isn't like the best thing with Freddy just kind of being around a corner or whatever, watching and stuff like that. Anyways, it turns out Freddy's the only guy they haven't interrogated this whole time. Giles and Joyce now watching Buffy.
Mhm.
He assures her that she's not hurting Buffy since the voices can't be singled out anymore. She has a sheet wrapped around. Angel shows up with what may be the antidote. And I just realized I've forgotten a part. When they first bring Buffy home,
Mhm.
Joyce is asking Buffy if she needs more blankets, if she needs more pillows. Maybe she can go get her some soup. Buffy just wanted her mom to go and sit down with her while, all this stuff was going on. Joyce wants no part of this. And as she leaves the room, she says to her mother, you had sex with Giles? Twice? On a police car? Joyce's response, it was the candy. We were teenagers. Yeah, so we get a confirmation of what happened on the streets of Sunnydale during Band Candy. My goodness. Anyways, we go to the school now. And for the first time ever, I don't know how we didn't know this almost 3 full seasons of Buffy, there's a clock tower. at
Is
Sunnytail
there?
High in the quad. It's almost as if it appeared magically just for this episode.
Probably did.
Yeah, uh, in there we see Jonathan's up there. Jonathan with a suitcase with an awfully large rifle. He's putting together. Not great. But the good news is, Angel had gotten that other demon. They've mixed up a potion kind of looking thing. It looks like, honestly, like that blue milk from that Star Wars movie that everybody absolutely loves, with some like alphagetti or something on top. I don't get the crumbly bits on top, but he gets Angel gets Buffy to drink a little bit of this. After a little bit now, uh, he's cured. So thank goodness for that. Buffy can go
Okay.
back at it. Scooby finally find Freddy. They surround him, accuse him of the potential upcoming murders. Turns out he has no idea what they're talking about. He thought they were pissed at him because he wrote a bad review about the dingoes. He says Oz plays like he has plump sausages strapped to his fingers. Adelia. Uh, Oz thinks that's fair though. And he's like, you know what, that's fair. Then Xander just wonders if Larry gave him an announcement to make on the paper if he could find it. So Buffy shows up at the school with a plan to get everybody evacuated. Cordy though has found a letter saying it's from Jonathan. It says everything that's going to happen, and now she's just angry that no one wrote anything about the cheerleaders because Cordy Chase thinks about herself quite a bit, which is odd. Now, they split up. They try and find Jonathan. Xander decides he's going to search the. There's two of you. I knew it. Xander tries to.
Hi, Ferris.
I didn't know that was gonna happen. That threw me off. I didn't know it. Oh my god, I am such. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Let's boo him. Boo.
Boo.
Boo
Boo.
me as much as you want.
Oh, I will.
I am a horrible person.
That's fine. You came just in time. Right
I
at the end.
am.
Right at the
I'm.
end.
I'm so sorry. I am so sorry.
That's okay. I've brought Adelia up to speed on an episode she'll never watch.
Yeah.
Now she's basically watched it. Probably.
I am gonna be in the doghouse for my entire life.
Oh, well, gee whiz. Well,
Not
we'll
your
see.
entire life. No,
Yeah.
It's
no, no.
30 years.
Yeah.
30 years isn't life. It's maybe a life sentence, but it's not your entire life. So, back to the show now. They split up. They have to find Jonathan. Xander's going to go search the cafeteria because, Xander's smart. But
Mm-hmm.
he gets easily distracted by some jello he sees. And I don't know.
There's shocker.
Yeah,
Sounds about right.
I don't know how cafeterias work in the same like we didn't really have a cafeteria, we had more like a canteen at our school. Do you guys pay for the food in the
Yeah.
cafeteria? Okay.
Yeah.
And then were you just allowed to go into the kitchen
Yeah,
at any
wait.
time?
No.
No.
No, okay. We'll get back to that though.
If
Then
you're in a certain program, you get free food.
Yeah, if you're in certain programs, you can get free food, but most of the time you have to pay for the food.
okay.
Our
Uh,
school
I
had open. Our school had open lunch, so we left
Our
campus.
ours did too,
Yeah.
so
I
we
I
left
live
campus too.
I lived a 45-second walk from my school. I just went home.
Yeah.
Uh, so
And
uh,
it was, it was always a blizzard when you went to school. So
there was quite a few blizzards as well. And any excuse for me not to make that 45-second walk, I took. Now, Buffy goes into the quad. She's looking around. She notices this brand new clock tower that looks like it's been there forever, never saw before. She sees Jonathan up there getting that rifle ready. And she doesn't waste any time. She runs up the armrest for the stairs. She does a superhero jump onto the roof. Everybody kind of has to notice this by
Mhm.
now. You know what I mean? She gets up there. She confronts Jonathan. Says, this isn't the answer. He's growing agitated because Buffy keeps saying his name. She's like, you don't even know my name. You think you're saying it like we're friends and stuff like that. He says that people see him as a short idiot. Buffy reminds him that nobody sees him at all, which probably didn't help the
Yeah.
matter. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
but she says nobody knows you because everybody else has their own problems. Like she says, my world sucks. Like everything about my world seems to be pain sometimes. Everybody else has their own
Mhm.
things they're going through. Like nobody can be worried about you all this time and stuff like that. Uh, she keeps going on. Eventually, she just tells him that at any time I could have taken this from you. And he says, "Yeah." Gives it to her. It was a long powered rifle. I don't know how. Like again, he when he says he's short, he's pretty short. Like the rifle's taller than him. I don't know how he was planning on pulling the trigger on this thing for one thing, but
Yeah,
also
the recoil would have dropped him on his butt. You
I
know what I
just
mean?
don't know how he reached. How does he reach the trigger? Anyways, he only had the one bullet, and that should have been another clue for Buffy. How is he going to go kill a bunch of people? He had no other bullets. It was just the one that he loaded in there. He just wanted to,
Hmm.
have people remember his name or whatever. So she tells him that mass murder isn't cool. And then he tells her, of course, like, no, I wasn't here to. I was just up here to kill myself. I was never hurt anybody. Well, I guess he meant like you wouldn't hurt anybody else. And then you see Xander again, back in that cafeteria, going to get Jello. He finds a nice big bowl of Jello. He looks up to find the lunch lady dumping rat poison into the stew.
Oh my
So
god.
he runs out. He starts yelling, rat poison, rat poison. He's knocking people's food down. He's tipping tables over. He slips. Here comes the lunch lady with a cleaver in the middle of the cafeteria. Luckily, Buffy gets to her just in time. It gives her a quick beating. A quick beating, which, by the way, has one of the worst stunt double showings of all time. The lunch lady was seriously half of herself at one point in this, and I'm pretty sure it was a guy. But anyways, Buffy beats up the lunch lady.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, and I'm pretty sure definitely.
uh, and they take her away and stuff like that. Crisis averted at Sunnydale High. Then we get to see Will and Buffy talk about how it looks like maybe the relationship with Angel could be on the mend. Willow then leaves. Giles has walked up. He's asking about Jonathan, and it turns out he's been suspended. His parents are freaking out.
Snark, can we talk about how she said he fed me the heart of a demon, and then we talked?
Yeah, yeah. I said it looked like the blue milk. I told
You
it
want to talk about
it looked like the blue milk from Star Wars, but with some alpha-getty into it.
true love?
Yeah.
Who would rip out a heart of a demon and feed it to somebody?
Well, not a demon. No, it's def.
Exactly, man. So isn't that what we all strive to be as men? Is to love someone as much as that?
When she's unconscious too.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
trying to
Yeah,
save her
no.
life.
wouldn't even
I
wait till
mean,
she woke
and
up.
then if you want someone who's in love with you, do like try to save you by giving you the heart of a demon?
No.
Okay, all right. Just wanted to ask because I know you want to kill me right now, but
And
what I mean?
just think of the things that she's done to him. She
Exactly,
stabbed him in the heart with a sword,
exactly,
and he's
because
still
she
willing to do
yeah.
that.
The love in this relationship is so
It
intoxicating.
I'm sure
toxic maybe.
it's gonna
Well,
last forever and ever, and they'll always be together. So,
until
uh,
Buffy dies, but what I mean.
she's now worried.
'Cause she's human.
She got Jonathan, is coping. His actions aren't going to win him any more friends, but she's been talking to him, but he's getting that look in his eyes, like he wants to ask her to prom and stuff like that. So, she's backing off, and Giles asks if she's going to go with him, and she's no, she's no Saint Buffy. Like he's 3 feet tall. So it's back to asking
Very
if you want to go back to
heightist.
training. Yeah. Well, when you see them together in the clock tower. They're about the same height.
That's what I'm
They're like,
saying, man.
yeah, they're about the same height.
As
Anyways,
someone who's been discriminated against for their height, I feel for you, Jonathan.
you get it. You get
Yeah.
it. All right. So yeah, Giles
I
asks if
wouldn't. I wouldn't try to commit mass murder, but I somewhat. Yeah, no, it's not okay, Jonathan.
No, it's not great. He wasn't going to, by the way. He's mentioned this before. Now,
Just trade the one
yeah,
bullet.
Giles says, it's time you want you up for some training. He's like, sure, we can see if that can work after school. If he's not too busy having sex with her mother, he then walks into a tree, and that's the end of the episode. One of the best endings to an episode. Like that, like honestly, Adelia, just go to the last 5 minutes of this, not even last minute of this program.
Yeah.
And just so you can see. And it was a choice that was made on the day. It was not scripted that he walks into that tree. But a little levity for something that was at the pretty heavy
A
subject matter. Now,
very heavy subject matter.
next time, Willow becomes a bit of a bargaining chip for the
Mhm.
mayor, guys. It's going to be choices. And I'd like to thank you both, maybe one more than the other, for showing up and talking about
110%.
Earshot today. Adelia, thank you again. Again, of course, not having seen the episode, but it was fun talking about it with you. Any place on the Let's Get Ready network you'd like to tell people you're going to be?
Well, me and Ferris on Sunday night are
We'll
going to
see.
have a very interesting episode of The Open Table, 6 p.m. Pacific on this very channel,
Mm-hmm.
where we will be discussing our favorite television shows.
Yeah,
Um,
that's 8 o'clock Central. If that helps you, Ferris.
Yeah.
Two alarms. Two
Two
alarms.
Yeah.
alarms. And then me and Snark will be back on Tuesday, 5 p.m. Pacific over on the sports channel with starting 11, our Premier League recap show. So check us out there. Links to both channels in the description of this episode. And join the Discord. You can hang out and talk to us about Buffy or other things. We got lots of stuff going on in there all the time. Join us in voice chat.
You
It's
could
cool.
let Ferris know how clocks work.
Oh, I'm going to make sure he knows how clocks work after this.
Very good.
Yeah.
Now for the late Ferris Muthana. And would you like to talk about what's happening with you over here on Let's Get Ready Network?
Kind of don't.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I'm ashamed of myself.
Ferris has Good Friends But Rivals on the sports channel. That's at 3 o'clock Pacific tomorrow
Mm-hmm.
on
Yeah.
there with Caleb. They'll be talking about the free agent moves in the NFL.
Yeah, yeah. And then I'll show up. I actually do show up on this program on time. On time.
Yeah.
I do that. And then I also show up on some of our reaction shows and review shows.
Yep.
And I will be on time for that Sunday show, Delia. I guarantee you that.
I think everyone's just going to keep note. Just everyone send Ferris
Ferris,
messages.
I would just like to point out that I am about to leave town for about 9 days.
Yeah.
And Ferris is the one who's going to be in charge of a lot of the stuff that I normally do. And I have no faith right now that stuff's going to get done while I'm gone.
Well, you know what? When the pressure's on, Ferris shows up. All right.
We'll see.
I think Ferris is all going to let us stay up past their bedtimes. Right, Ferris?
Yeah, and they're gonna like eat candy for dinner and drink soda all night.
It's going to be good.
Oh my god! No, we're gonna run a tight ship. We're gonna run a tight ship.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm gonna be a military dictator. All right.
Boy.
I mean, I don't think that's necessary.
Well, you know what? Sometimes drastic times call for drastic measures.
Yeah. 1,700 hours then, Ferris. 1,700 hours.
Right.
Central time.
Yeah, we don't have to do that. I hate military time. That annoys me.
1,500 hours Pacific for
no,
the
1,500 hours is no
1,500 hours Pacific is 3 o'clock.
For the Rewatchers Council.
No, you 12 plus 3 is 15, so it's 3 o'clock.
Yes.
Maybe he was on military time before, and that's what happened. He got it all mixed up.
Who knows?
No,
we'll figure it
out. I want to tell you what happened, but it's gonna probably make it worse. I don't know.
Okay. Oh my gosh.
Ferris, you have to be the one to end the stream now.
Yes.
Because you have the controls.
What a show off. What a show off. Guys, thanks for watching Adelia and I. And please boo and hiss. Ferris Muthana. Until the next episode of Rewatchers Council next week. It'll still be 5 o'clock Central Time. That's not going to change.
Yeah, no.
Also, this weekend, LGRN after Snark, Danny and I are going to talk about Daredevil, the first 3 episodes of Born Again. Looking forward to that. Now, in the words of Joyce Summers, I'd like to bid everybody a good night. I don't know if she says that at all, actually, in the show.